afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So welcome back. So it is my pleasure to update the progress of Huawei 5G with you. When each new generation of the technology comes, everybody will think that this new technology was just a hotspot technology. 10 years ago, when we started to deploy LTE, lots of the people said that LTE, it will be only deployed in the hotspot. And for 5G, today, still, lots of the people think that 5G will only work in the hotspot. That's not true. We do believe that all of the operators in the world will provide ubiquitous coverage across the whole country for the 5G network. So that's why, in this year, we will commercial launch all of our product portfolio, which include the massive MIMO product, Blade AAU, and also the multi-band remote radio unit. So besides this macro base station site, we will also provide the street site. We call it Easy Macro 3.0. So for this Easy Macro 3.0, it is compactly designed, and it can be easily deployed the lamp pole or in the street. And we also provided the bulk radio remote unit. It can be deployed and it can be used in the residential areas. This year, for the massive MIMO product, we will release the new product. The weight of this new product is less than 25 kilo. So which means that in Europe, according to the regulatory requirement, only one person can handle such a kind of product. If it is weighter than 25 kilo, you will need at least 2 persons. We believe that since this year, it will be start point of the ROI broadband. And for the ROI broadband, the major challenge is in the massive MIMO. So in the left side of the slides, this is the spectrum situation in UK. We have noticed that in year 2018, UK auctioned the frequency band of band 42. So this is the situation of the spectrum owned by 4 operators in UK. And we expect that in this year, the rest of 120 megahertz will be auctioned in UK. So for example, for Vodafone, they have occupied the low end of band 42. So if in the auction, they get the new frequency band in band 43. So which means that only the product with 400 megahertz can meet their requirement. So we do believe that. So with the ROI broadband product, it can greatly simplify the site of the operator and reduce the CapEx and OpEx for the operator when they deploy for 5G. And we have done the investigation across the whole Europe. More than 20% of the site, it's impossible for operator to add a new antenna. So if we look at the frequency map of most of the operators, today I think most of the operators, they own more than 10, they will have about 10 frequency band in the future. So which will range from 700 to 3.700. So in this way, typically today, I think for the passive antenna, it can support 700 to 2.6 gigahertz. But anyway, I think for 3.5 gigahertz and for in the future for 4.9 gigahertz and 2.6 gigahertz, for such a kind of high frequency band, operator must use massive MIMO technologies. Because for this high frequency band, the coverage will be much, much worse than the low frequency band. Only with massive MIMO technologies, it is possible to extend the coverage of 3.5 gigahertz and 3.7 gigahertz to be equal to that of 1800 megahertz. So in this way, for the high frequency band, for the C band, massive MIMO, it will be a mandatory requirement. So here is the challenge for the operator. If operator stack these 2 boxes in line, so which means that 2 meter plus 0.8. So which means that the length of the antenna will be 3 meters. And in most of the site, it is for such a kind of big equipment, it is not allowed to be installed on site. So in this way, Huawei have designed the unique technologies we call the blade AU, so which have integrated the massive MIMO product and today's legacy passive antennas in one set. And the antenna gain of the legacy passive antennas will be maintained today's performance. I think for 5G, today lots of the people have talked about TDD mode. But we should never forget if Huawei has already done the commercial deployment in some of the countries for the FDD 5G. So in the same frequency band, if we look at the user experience, the performance of 5G will be 2 times higher than today's LTE network, with the same bandwidth, with the same number of the transceiver. Then another benefit for FDD 5G is that it can greatly reduce the latency in the L interface. So today, I think only with FDD-NR, the latency can be reduced to 1 millisecond. But Huawei has already commercially launched this 1 millisecond dynamic spectrum sharing in one of the countries in Europe. We have already started commercial deployment and together with Huawei's smartphone. So it has been proved it can work. For Huawei, for the legacy FDD radio models, more than 10 million of the radio models for today's 4G network, it can support 5G. So in this way, it can help operate for faster deployment of the 5G. I think 10 years ago, when 4G started to be commercially launched, the network performance, if you do the drive test across different networks, all of the network performance from different vendors, it is similar. Huawei, together with LG Plus, deployed the 5G network. And in Switzerland, Huawei collaborated with Sunrise, deployed with the 5G network. And in London, Huawei, together with British Telecom, deployed the 5G network. So even though Huawei's customers have 20% less of the spectrum, but the network performance is much, much better than our customer in the same city. So why we can get this result? It is based upon our algorithm, and our algorithm in the chipset. So for 5G, massive MIMO, 64 TRX, the output power is 240 watt. And another for the 4G base station in 1800, it is 44 TRX based product. And the output power is 4 times 60 watt. Is also 240 watt. And the power consumption of these two products is the same. So which means that the massive MIMO-based 5G product, the power consumption for Huawei is equal to that of the 4G. While the capacity, in the left side of the slide, I have shown the capacity for one cell, which this is tested in China, in Beijing. The peak capacity throughput for one 5G with massive MIMO was 100 megahertz, so it can reach 14.58 gigabps. But for 44R, for the 4G network, it can reach 300 megabps. So which means that if bit per bit, it can be improved by 50%. We will also introduce artificial intelligence in the power consumption, in the site level, and in the network level. So based upon the traffic in the real network, in different technologies, in different frequency band, so we will introduce the multi-band, multi-technology, and multi-TRX shutdown technologies to control the power consumption for the whole site and for the whole network. So we expect that with such a kind of artificial intelligence algorithms and solutions, the power consumption for the whole network can be reduced by another 30%. We believe that the target network of the 5G should be standalone. Yeah. Because with the standalone, it will be easier for the operator to do the network slicing. It will be easier for the operator to provide the low latency services. So in the future, 5G will be definitely needed to support to the business market. If the operator wanted to support to the business market, the standalone will be a mandatory one. We have already commercial launch the non-standalone and standalone solution. From the device chipset to the device, to the base station, to the transport network, and to the core network. Yeah. So here, Huawei have introduced the super uplink and also the supplement uplink solutions. In this way, it can help operate to overcome the bottleneck of the uplink, and it can be better support for the business market. So for the super uplink, Huawei will give two solutions. The first one, for 3.5 gigahertz and 3.7 gigahertz, it can work together with the legacy FDD frequency band. Yeah. So for this solution, Huawei has already commercialized together with China Telecom in China. Yeah. We binding 3.5 gigahertz TDD spectrum and 2.1 FDD spectrum introduced the super uplink technologies. So in this way, the user experience of the uplink can be increased by 4 times if the end subscriber is stay far away from the base station. Then another option, I think for some of the operators, they already have some legacy TDD frequency band. So how to solve this uplink bottleneck? We can have this TDD spectrum worked on the supplemental uplink. We have already finished the trial with one of the operators. And the uplink throughput can reach to 1 gigabps. We do believe that with such a kind of capabilities of the network, it can greatly support operators to explore the new business opportunities for the business market. Network slicing. Today, we believe that for the 5G, it will be not only serve for the consumer market, it will also serve for the business market. If for each segment of the vertical industry, if they wanted to deploy their own network, we believe that it will be so costly. Because all of the fragmented market, it is so fragmented, and it don't have the economic scale to support a dedicated network. So which means that in the future, most of the vertical, their service will run in the operator's network. So based upon the common architecture, common infrastructure that provided by the operator, and operate using the network slicing technologies to guarantee the quality of service for different verticals. It will be the way for the work. And in this way, operator can provide better service to the different verticals. So in this way, the slicing, it will be the critical one. Yeah. So in this year, Huawei will commercial launch the end-to-end network slicing solutions. So which will also include from the device chipset to the device, to the base station, transport network, and the core network, and also the slicing management system to help operate to explore the business market. 5G is just a network. It is just provide connectivity between people and people, people to thing and thing to thing. Yeah. And the biggest business opportunity is in the cloud and is in the artificial intelligence. It is in the rely in the social digitalization. So in this way, Huawei as the infrastructure vendors, we are glad to collaborate with the partners in different countries to build the healthy 5G ecosystem. Thank you.